Okay. Ah, there we go.
Are we back?
We're back. Can you hear us okay?
Ah, yeah,
Okay.
just fine.
Great.
I don't know what's going on.
It looks like it just froze last time. So what I was saying was, I was introducing you, Renat. Could you pronounce your last name? I can't pronounce it.
You can't? Yeah, I'm shocked. Yeah, it's Bayraktar Smith.
Bayraktar Smith?
Bayraktar Smith. I stick with Renat.
That is an amazing name. Where are you originally from?
I'm half Turkish, and then I married somebody with the last name of Smith, and I just couldn't go from Bayraktar to Smith. So we just made it one name, like blacksmith, except, you know, a lot more letters and nobody can pronounce it.
That is amazing. I love it. That is creative. And so right now you are the Senior Program Manager of Conservation Science at Panthera, right?
Right.
Great. And previously to that, you were part of the snow leopard team. So your expertise is in snow leopards, right?
Yeah, actually, I still work mostly with snow leopards.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I still spend a lot of my time working with the snow leopard program.
So we know you're a very busy person, Renat. You got a lot going on. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me.
You want to do a quick little intro, tell everyone about yourself, how long you've been doing what you're doing, what brought you to Panthera, and what's your role as the Senior Program Manager there of Conservation Science.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm halfway through my 10th year with Panthera.
Ooh. Congratulations.
Your 10th year? That's incredible.
Thanks.
Wow. Congratulations. You have tenure.
That happened really quick.
You have tenure, so they can never let go of you at this point, right? Permanently hired.
Yeah, let's hope they're watching, right?
Oh, they're watching. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, well, I actually met the first director of our snow leopard program when I was working my first career as a zookeeper, and he's the one who hired me. So, yeah, I started out in the snow leopard program, and now I'm in sort of a broader role with conservation science. But again, I'm still mostly focused on snow leopards, hoping to expand that pretty soon. So I spend most of my time coordinating projects, developing projects, tracking them, and that's all work within Panthera, but also with lots of our partners all over the world.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. So how did you get into, so you mentioned zookeeping. How did you get into, what drove you into working with the big cats, with working with snow leopards, working with animals? I don't know what you were doing as a zookeeper, but how did you get there? How did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, well, I'm a pretty lucky person because I feel like I've had two dream jobs already, two dream careers. Since I always wanted to be a zookeeper when I was little, and I did that for 17 years. And
Wow.
Pretty much every species that I worked with, I just fell in love with whatever it was. As you got to know the species, they just were wonderful. So snow leopards, hippos, hyenas, it didn't really matter. I loved everything I worked with, but there was just always something special about the cats. I worked with lions and snow leopards, and there's just something about them. So after 17 years, I was kind of ready to make the move from working with, try to improve the lives of individual animals and try to see if I could make a difference for the whole species and do that in the wild.
Right.
So that's why I made the move. And
so so how did you transition into that? You went from there to Panthera?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I met the director of the snow leopard program when I was working as a zookeeper. We had some interaction with him, and we got to know each other. And I was just finishing up my master's degree, and I was starting to think do something else and do something a little bit more focused on the wild. And so I just ended up kind of falling into it, working with him.
Yeah, I love that.
I feel very fortunate.
I love that going from on the individual level to a much broader level. I feel like we all kind of have to do that in our work. You start on the individual, you start working with something on that level, and then you expand into a broader, situation to encompass more people or more animals or more as you develop your skill set. So that's amazing that's the transition you made.
Yeah.
So
thanks. Yeah.
Go for it.
So, with Wildcats, and you worked as a zookeeper, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of stuff. But was there anything that you didn't necessarily learn about in like textbooks or in school that you learned while on the job,
Yeah.
or like while actually in the field?
Yeah, tell us some interesting things.
Yeah, definitely. What I learned really quick is that it's really hard to see your study species.
Right.
So they don't tell you that, when you're a kid and you're dreaming about doing a job with having to do with wildlife, you're thinking that, oh, you're going to be on the savannah and you're going to see all these lions and all the just amazing wildlife. It's going to be incredible. But then you pick something like a snow leopard and you don't see it. So I spent the first 8 years.
Elusive snow leopard. So how do you build a bond if you're not even able to see the animals? How do you build that bond in terms of your connection or your heart-centered desire to work for that species when you don't get very much direct interaction?
That's an excellent question. I definitely have chosen that in multiple ways. So I did my master's research actually on a species that I never saw when I was studying that either, the Western gray squirrel. So this seems to be a trend for me. I don't seem to need to see the actual animal in order to feel a connection.
That's amazing, though. That's
I don't know what that is, but yeah, I mean, I think it did make a big difference that I spent quite a few years at the zoo working closely with snow leopards and talking with the man who hired me, Tom McCarthy, who hired me at Panthera. So I had some connection with like what some research was going on in the wild and being able to connect that with the individuals that I knew by name and knew intimately in my first career. So I think that connection is probably what helped me keep moving forward, even though it's really hard to see them.
Yeah, can you actually, I think a lot of our viewers, sometimes there's mixed perspectives around zoos and really the amazing work that can be done in zoos. Can you talk about why zoos are important and what are some of the things that zoos do to propagate the species and help, maintain our knowledge and studies around that?
Yeah. Zoos are a tough one. When people want to slam them and say they're not doing a good job, and there's certainly plenty of bad examples of zoos out there. However, I would say that the modern zoo is generally can be a really good thing. For me, as a kid, it was what I couldn't have pets as a kid because there were a lot of allergies in my household, and so that was the one place I could go and I could see animals up close. I could interact with them. It was that was critical for me individually to get into the career that I'm in. That made a big difference. So I think that when people can see these animals that they might see on a nature show, but it's hard to get connected when you're looking at something on a television screen. But if you can actually see it in person, I think that makes a really big difference. And lots of zoos now are putting their money where their mouth is. They're putting a lot of money into conservation and supporting work. Like we have a lot of partnerships with zoos around the world who are supporting our work. And that's critical because they can actually share what we're doing with all the millions of visitors that come to zoos every year. Right. They can talk about like what Panthera is doing with the species that they're looking at right there in an exhibit. So I think that zoos do have an important role. And if you think about it, they like most large species that are in zoos right now, they're not coming from the wild. We're not going out and catching snow leopards and putting them in zoos. These animals are bred in captivity. So for the most part, this doesn't go for every species, but for like the big cats, they're being bred in the zoos. So that's what they know. And if you're a good zookeeper, you can certainly make their lives good in captivity.
Right. So, and also, what about the zoos? Zoos also have their own research aspects as well, right? Like they fund their own. Do they fund their own projects or conservation projects? Like obviously, so you're saying that they're helping to take the information that you have and disseminate it out into the world. at a fairly large scale, right? But to the masses. You guys are sharing information probably as well that you have, correct, in terms of how best to serve the animals in the wild. And then what about, is there any other conservation of the species? Are there just, is that primarily the education and the visual elements of people being able to go and build a connection with an animal and potentially inspire them to do work with the animal species, or just have a greater understanding of why it's important to save our environment? And is there anything else I'm missing out of that? Would you say that's pretty much?
There's certainly more. Some zoos are doing their own research projects. There are some zoos that are working locally, which is incredibly important. Things like doing captive breeding and reintroduction of like amphibians locally, and butterflies locally. These types of things are, really important. This is where you can make a really big impact, is right in your own community. So there are zoos that are doing a great job at that. Some run their own research projects as well. They have a department that is involved in that. Another thing, like we partnered with a zoo to put a radio collar on one of the captive snow leopards. And so that was a great way for the zoo. They were immobilizing the cat anyway for an annual exam, and we could put a radio collar on the animal and observe the behavior when the animal woke up and was wearing the collar. So it was great to be able to partner with them on that level as well. So there are a lot of ways that zoos can be involved in conservation.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thank you for enlightening us on that and our viewers.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll jump in. So I know you mentioned, you don't get to see too many wildcats in person, but
I don't.
Do you have a favorite kind of wildcat? Of course you don't.
Of course I do.
Are those snow leopards? What are those?
Those are snow leopards, yeah.
Did you see my shirt? I wore this for you, Renata.
Oh, perfect. Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to need that shirt.
Yeah.
It's small.
I think he's wearing a cheetah shirt. He's not wearing the right shirt.
But it's a wildcat.
Oh, really? I can't see well enough. But it's moving quickly across the phone. It looks like it's a snow leopard. So we'll pretend it's a snow leopard.
There we go. Why snow leopards? What is it about them?
For me?
Yeah.
Probably because I spent a lot of time working with them and got to know some pretty incredible individuals, including the one up top there. That's Gregor. He was one of my first snow leopards. And so I think of the personal connection with individuals, and they're just gorgeous. I mean, all cats are stunners. There's no bad looking cat out there that I've seen, but snow leopards, that tail is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's big and amazing. It must do an amazing job. Do you want to actually tell us a little bit about some interesting facts or things about the snow leopard?
Yeah, sure. Their tail is like the same length as their body, usually. They're the smallest of the big cats. They don't roar. They're very mellow for the most part. They range over 12 different countries in Central Asia. So that's a whole effort in and of itself to try to work with a lot of different countries, a lot of different cultures in order to try to have effective conservation programs. I would recommend that people look up Planet Earth if they haven't already seen that. They have some amazing footage in those shows of snow leopards. Just stunning, stunning things. So yeah, they're great cats. Definitely great cats.
Yeah, it sounds, And a lot of the work, I mean, at least from us, we work with obviously a few different organizations. We've been working with you guys for a long time. We have several others. Sometimes a lot of the work that we're contributing to can be simpler than people realize. It's like protecting livestock and building enclosed cages, and education is really a big one. Why we want to make sure that, we're protecting people's, ability to earn a living via farming and things like that, and also keep the species protected. And there is a way to get both of those things done when people are properly educated and resources are there. So I imagine it's really difficult when you say many different countries to organize all of these teams speaking different languages with different customs and cultures. And I mean, that is a very complex thing to do, right? So you guys must have different ground teams, or how do you manage all of that?
Yeah, and that's really well put. We definitely have to, there's just not a one size fits all solution to dealing with the threats that snow leopards face, right? So when you think about all the different cultures and all the different countries, there are different threats all over the places, and there are different cultural ways to work with amongst those threats to try to work with the people, because conservation is all about people. We're trying to make sure that these cats are worth more alive than dead, that it makes sense, that people understand that these cats are part of the ecosystem, the people are part of the ecosystem as well, right? So everybody needs to be able to live together in order to move forward successfully. And so that is something that we need to work with all over the range. And we don't work in every single range country. Certainly, there are lots of organizations that are doing projects. But yeah, we definitely have local teams. We're not coming in from another country and saying, hey, this is how you need to fix the problem. It's really important to work very, very closely with local people and find out what are their concerns, what are the problems, what are the specific issues that they're dealing with, and how can we help support them and figure out how they can survive together with snow leopards. And, you know, it's like that for most cat species. And yeah, it's very complex, and involves a lot of different cultures and languages, and being sensitive to all the different nuances out there.
So conservation really, it comes down to people. Probably a significant portion of this is really being able to communicate with the people effectively, give them reasons for why we want to keep these animals alive in their region, because sometimes for them they're a nuisance, or they just simply because we're not educated enough as to why they're so important for maintaining balance and harmony in ecosystems. And obviously they're beautiful animals, but
yeah. But it's really hard to tell somebody if they just lost 25 sheep, and that was like basically their entire bank account. If they just lost all of that to a snow leopard, it's really hard to tell them, but they're really important in the ecosystem. Right. You know, it's like, so it's a lot of working together and figuring out how to support people and cats.
Yeah, yeah. So that's amazing. That's really insightful, I think. So at the end of the day, it's about the people, because you've got to get everyone on board in order to be able to conserve the species. It's not just about, even if land is being encroached on, it's still about the people, and convincing people that there's better methods for maybe farming practices or things that are more sustainable.
Yeah, and it's also coming up with those solutions with those people. Right. So not coming in with like a preconceived idea of like, well, you know what we need to do here is this, that, and the other thing. Where, I mean, we might have some ideas of something that worked because we know the things that worked in other similar locations with similar cultures or that kind of thing. But it's important to listen to the people who are there, listen to what they're dealing with, and they may have ideas for solutions that we've never thought of. So it's definitely a partnership, and building trust and building community with our organization and the people that are sharing habitat with the cats.
Right. Is there a one particular species of a feline, of cat, that is more in jeopardy in Panthera's eyes than another? How do you rank that? How do you deal with the crisis impending in different species?
Well, yeah, there are definitely species that are more imperiled than others because from what we know, their numbers are very low. So like tigers are really threatened because there just aren't that many out there. Right. So it's kind of a numbers game. It's difficult with some species because like snow leopards, we don't really know exactly how many cats there are out there. We're doing our best to try to count them, but it's a huge range, so we don't really know. So a lot of it comes down to the numbers that we, educated guesses of the numbers of cats that are out there, and that kind of ranks the who's more endangered than the other.
Right. So then
Yeah.
how do you dictate how you spread your efforts, as a team across all these different cats? Like, how does that work?
A lot of it has to do with funding. So we have a plan within our organization. Like for each species, we know what we would like to do, what our best guess is of what are the steps that need to be taken in order to better know the species so we can conserve it better, and what conservation projects we would like to be doing in order to save each species. But of course, there's not enough money to do everything that we want to do. So we have plans for every species, small cats, large cats, everybody. And it kind of comes down to finances. We have our priorities for which species we've historically worked with, and have some ongoing projects that are really making a difference. And so we definitely want those to continue, and we want to continue to improve those. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to where is the funding coming from? And maybe we have a funder who's really interested in working with tigers. So then we're able to channel more effort into protecting or studying tigers. But it is difficult as a nonprofit, because you can't always say there may be a whole bunch of grants out there that are for tigers one year and that are for another species another year. And so it's difficult for us to be able to have consistent funding where we need it at all times.
Right. I have one more question before we get. Is it difficult to work with the governmental, or like the government? Is there issues in relation to that, or do you have success in reaching out to these governments to, like, how we get protected lands and things like that, and we put animals on endangered species lists? Like, is that something that you guys also have to, or are working in?
Yeah, definitely. I can't speak to that personally. I haven't myself worked closely with governments, but yeah, we definitely are involved with having conversations about law enforcement on what needs protection, sharing information about where cats are and what the threats to them are, and how the government might be able to support projects to protect the cats and help people. So we definitely work closely with governments across many, many species, but I personally don't.
Right.
So
yeah.
Does that answer your question?
That does, yeah. And it sounds like, again, I have such a respect and am in awe of the work you guys do and have always done. And I really want to stress, especially to the people watching, that this is a very complex topic. It's not so black and white as some people would have you believe, that you can just go in and do whatever you want, or that it's easy to work with governments, or different language barriers, or different cultural elements, or financially to be able to fund these different it's a lot, and building connections is really important with the people, and that, and it takes years and years for you to probably, in my experiences of working with nonprofits, it takes years for you guys to really have any wins, like major wins. It takes a significant amount of time to establish what you're working on. It's not like you just, okay, here's $100,000 we're putting into this, we should see success. It's like years of working in a territory, you know what I mean, to really get some change going. So it's not a immediately gratifying work that you guys do, but it's work that's powerful, and that all of our viewers are for sure grateful of. And I just want to express that gratitude that I'm feeling right now, and know Robert feels it. It's like, what a tremendous role you play for the human species, because these animals are not just, of course, for the animal species that you're working with, but for the humans as well. It's people, we sometimes, we need to learn. We need to learn, and we need these animals. Like you said, you don't always see the snow leopard, but you have a bond with it. There's a majesty, and SpiritHoods is about the connection we have with the animal kingdom as much as it's about with the people, right? There's two pillars for our brand. Right. And it's we like to,
and that's conservation. That's conservation by definition.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, if you can't have a connection with people, if you only have the connection with the animal, you're not going to get very far.
Right.
So it's connecting people, and it's the connection with the animals.
Yeah, just beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that. Go ahead. I'll let you.
So I gotta ask because we're wearing masks. So with the whole global pandemic going on, we gotta know: are wildcats susceptible to coronavirus? And if so, how is COVID impacting cats everywhere, if at all?
Yeah. Oh, that's the question on everybody's mind, right? Is anything having to do with COVID? So, yeah, we don't actually know if wildcats carry the specific strain of coronavirus that we humans have been dealing with recently. But they do carry other varieties of the coronavirus, so it's totally possible. And you've probably heard about the cats at the Bronx Zoo. There were some tigers and lions that tested positive for COVID-19, and also some domestic cats. So as far as I know, they all recovered, and I know that it was suspected that they had all contracted the virus from their human caretakers. So it is possible that they could carry COVID-19, but it's certainly something that no one's had a chance to study yet. But I would say that COVID-19 has certainly impacted wildcats indirectly. And it's not just wildcats, but all sorts of threatened species have been, unfortunately, there's just been an increase in poaching overall around the world during the pandemic. So in places like our team in Colombia has noted a rise in poaching of jaguar and puma. There's similar concerns in India about poaching of tigers and their prey. So there's definitely, COVID is definitely impacting them in a negative way, but not from the virus. There's one way that, like in some tiger range countries, that we can do some remote monitoring that's pretty powerful. We developed at Panthera this remote trap camera that's called a poacher cam. And when that camera takes a picture of a human, it actually sends the photo immediately in real time to a wildlife official, and then hopefully they can actually make it out to that site immediately. And if they can get there quickly enough, sometimes they can stop poaching before it happens. So that's a pretty powerful tool for remote monitoring.
So you guys
right?
developed that?
Yeah, we have a technology team that developed that. So there's an algorithm built in there that if they get a biped, so something with two legs, in a picture, because there's lots of four-legged animals that the camera traps might photograph, but they're not sending all of those pictures to the officials. They're just sending anything that looks like a human.
Wow, that is really incredible.
Yeah, it's a great thing. And overall, we know around the world that some wildlife, there's just kind of less enforcement going on right now. Like some people who would normally be protecting cats are actually under stay-at-home orders themselves, or they might have been redeployed. So instead of protecting wildlife, they might be, say, like enforcing the national curfew or something like that. Right. So there's less enforcement. And then of course we have to think about all the people that have been economically devastated, by this virus. So that is what's leading to the opportunity to, or people feeling like they might need to poach. So these are all things that we have to, keep on our radar and try to combat. And it's so hard right now because there's just so many dire concerns, right? They're just all over the world. Yeah. We're all just consumed with so many heavy topics. And even so, it's like we can't afford to ignore wildcats.
Yeah.
They need our help more than ever during this pandemic.
Yeah.
We have to remember that.
We pretty much have to just say, okay, we've got a lot going on, and how can we divert our resources, between these different challenges that we're all facing. I mean, there's a lot of them. And, sometimes it's even about rotating. For me, sometimes I rotate my resources and I say, it's time for me to give in this section, of my life, or I need to do some work with the homeless community in LA area or wherever. So sometimes it's just about that. But what I'm hearing you say is basically because of COVID, of course, there may be some big cats getting sick. We don't have enough research on that. But more of what we're seeing is rises in poaching because of economic devastation, an inability for people to kind of work protecting the animals because there's stay-at-home orders. We have a financial crisis on top of that that's affecting people's ability to donate and generate funds for the Panthera team, for you guys, and doing the work you need.
Yeah.
And technically, we need it now more than ever because there's a lot of things that are leading or driving an increase in poaching. Mm-hmm. And would you say poaching is one of the number one? What's the number one thing that impacts these big cats, the lives of these big cats? Is it environmental habitat, or is it poaching, or?
It definitely depends on the species, but big ones are direct killing, so poaching, and habitat conversion or loss of habitat. So if it's converted to, say, a forest is converted to farmland, you know, a tiger can't live on the farm. Right. So those are probably the top two for many cat species. Right.
And cat species, it's not very easy for that. It's like you can't really push cats farther and farther in when there's territory ranges, right? So cats have difficulty crossing in on other territories. So when they lose their home, I just lost my home in a wildfire, or not a wildfire, sorry, house fire. So
oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I only bring that up.
Wow.
Thank you. I only bring that up because, you know, having lost my home and where I live, I've been relocated to a completely different environment, and it's.
And do you know how to hunt there? Do you know how to gather your
100%.
food? You know, it's not easy, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's very accurate. Yeah, it's very challenging, and there's a lot of disruptions. And of course, we live in an age where we have grocery stores, so I have to modify my grocery store. But it's still, I actually go to farmers markets, and so I have to drive all the way back to my location to meet with my farmers that I work with.
And hunt back there, where you know.
100%.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel when I hear habitat loss, I feel it directly because I say I've lost my home and that environment, and it's devastating for me. I can't imagine an animal doesn't have anywhere to go, right? And then what ends up happening? Sometimes they hunt the cattle or something, and then the rancher kills them, or they just they get in fights with tigers.
Yeah, or they don't. There might be other cats there already.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
you. No, please.
You.
Yeah, please.
There might be other cats there already, right? So there might be somebody else living there, so they can't make a living.
Right.
They're a little less forgiving than people are. Your new neighbors are probably allowing you to go to the grocery store, even if you did choose to go to the farmer's market, right?
Very true.
They're probably not standing outside the door going, no, you can't come in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really unique way of looking at it. I'm so sorry to hear about your home.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's we're doing okay. We've made it through the roughest part, I think. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Home is where the heart is.
Yeah, exactly.
I always say it's where I hang my cats.
but it's you know, when it comes to these animals, it's the home is it's habitat. It's, you know, and we're losing it not just for these wild cats, but for ourselves too. We're losing really precious species outside of just the big cats, you know. So
absolutely,
really sad stuff. But so you know, we love wildcats, but we also know that they're very powerful. We know they've got tremendous power. So when you do work with them, it's got to be at least a little nerve-wracking, right? Like, are you ever scared at all, or do you always just have a fearless mentality?
Of course, never scared. No, I have a healthy respect for any wildcats. You know, if you look at all that power that is behind them, they have the teeth, the claws, the sheer power that they need in order to make a living out there. It's really deserving of a lot of respect, and you need to be careful.
Yeah.
But for me, I picked the snow leopard as my focal species, and that was a pretty good choice apparently, because they're really mellow cats and they're not known to attack people. So when you're out in the field in snow leopard habitat, you're not worried about having a negative interaction with the snow leopard. So I lucked out that way. But yeah, that being said, I definitely have a very healthy respect. My skin is no match for those claws or those teeth. I am not built to withstand that.
Seriously, yeah, that's some serious. I can't imagine. I mean, I've had the luxury of being around a cheetah a few times and some of the other smaller wildcats with some other conservation groups that we've worked with, and they are really quite powerful. I mean, just beautiful animals. So,
Yeah.
but they are a force. And I'm aware that we're getting, I want to be mindful of your time. I want to check in and see, you guys do clearly tremendous work all over the world. Is there what's coming up for you guys? What are initiatives that you guys, or that are on your mind, or that are on the table that maybe you guys need help with, that you want to talk about to some of these people that are watching? Fill us in where Panthera's at on some of these things.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll just kind of address things dealing with COVID, since that's on our mind these days.
Right.
And so what we're working on are just projects all across the species where we're just trying to get even more creative than we already have been, in order to try to figure out solutions to sort of, existing problems that are exacerbated, or new problems rising from this pandemic. So like there are places in India that are just heavily dependent on tourism for their income. So we're looking to figure out, how do we diversify this income, because we don't want people to turn back to poaching, since that's something that we've managed to get beyond in these communities where we work. So we're doing things like encouraging the sale of organic produce, because that's something you can do when you're not hosting tourists, right?
Right.
And then we also have to look towards the future. If, tourism will come back, and when it does, we want to make sure that we can do it safely, right? And we want to make sure that villagers are safe, that tourists are safe. So we have to figure out how to improve hygiene in order to keep everybody safe from things like the novel coronavirus. We're trying to promote stewardship, community stewardship of their own wildlife. Like in Zambia, around the Kafue National Park, there are communities that actually monitor camera traps for us as part of our work. And what we've started doing there since the pandemic began is that we're actually giving little cash incentives for photographs, current photographs of cats and key prey species on those camera traps. So if people are able to show us photos of live cats and live prey species, that means that they aren't poached, that they're still there. And so that's, another really important aspect. So right now we're trying to get creative. We're trying to be in the field when we can. There are places where we can't be in the field right now. We're trying to protect cats wherever we can within the kind of confines of whatever restrictions in whatever country having to do with COVID-19. And, we're anxious in the places where we can't get back out just yet. We're really anxious to get going. So, we're a lot of our things right now. We're doing a lot of grant writing and a lot of planning for the future as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for
sharing. I guess Global Tiger Day is coming up. One of my communications team members just reminded me of that. But to be honest, I don't know what day that is. So hopefully they tell me. I don't know enough about tigers. And only too much about snow leopards.
Tasha probably knows. What day is Tiger Day, Tasha? Do you know? If she doesn't know, then you're forgiven, I think. She doesn't know. She doesn't know.
If not, I'm on the hook. July 29th. There we go. In the comments.
You're wrong.
Oh, she was close. Tasha said the 19th.
Did I win?
Tasha said 19th. You said 29th. Right?
Oh, I won then. Yeah. I totally won that
one. The 29th. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Angela.
Yeah.
I was looking pretty bad there.
Yeah, that's okay. Listen, there's all sorts of days going on. We trust that you guys are doing a lot to honor those tigers. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, last thing that we've got at least is, we love your newsletters. We're still all signed up. We get them. We get your monthly guide. Tells us all about what you guys did that month. We love it. Can you just tell everyone who's watching where they can go to sign up for that as well, so they can get the digest too?
Okay, so you froze there for me.
Oh. Sorry. Am I back?
Are we back?
Can you ask that again? I'm sorry. Yeah, I got you back.
We were just saying, can you let everyone know where they can go to sign up for your newsletter? Because we love your newsletters.
Yeah, let's see. It's panthera.org/stand-wild-cats.
Perfect.
So it's panthera.org/stand-wild-cats.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a little bit
And
more.
yeah, the newsletters are great. I'm really glad you guys are. Did I freeze again?
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So and I think for those of us who are watching on our side, you know, I think we always want to encourage, you know, support of you guys directly. You know, we want our followers, our customers to just be able to engage with you directly. We think it's the most powerful way to stay informed is to get the information directly from the source. Yep. We get a lot, just so people know, we get a lot of information from Panthera in a variety of categories. We get imagery. We get all sorts of interesting things from you guys. You've been so supportive in helping us talk about the message that you guys are trying to get out into the world. You know, so we'll post a link on the newsletter. That's probably the best way to stay in touch, correct? Is the newsletter?
Oh, cool.
Is the newsletter?
Yeah, there it is. I see yeah, and you can, I think there might be a link through there that, you know, if you have really specific questions, we have a generic email address that you can ask questions as well. So, yeah, you know, reach out to us if you have.
Great. Yeah. And we'll continue to do some fun work. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this one yet, but this is the one of the prototypes. It's missing the logo on this
No,
one.
why do I not have one of those?
Yeah, because they're not done yet, you know? So we're getting there. We're getting there. They'll be done pretty soon. So look,
that's great.
Keep your eye out for those. We'll let you guys know, obviously, when that's coming around. And then for our viewers, that's happening in maybe about a month and a half or so. We should have those in. And they are unique. They have copper lacing, which is a disruptor of viruses and bacteria.
Oh.
So they're copper threading.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then we've got an insert for N95. You can put an N95 filter in there. And it'll help give you a little extra protection. So
out of everything.
We're trying. You know, we're doing our best to give something
fantastic.
That's powerful. Next, we just need to.
Apparently.
We need. Yeah. Anyways, we will let you go. Thank you for joining us, giving us all that amazing information, for doing what you do. We're super grateful for you. I could speak for all of the SpiritHoods family probably that we're super grateful. We love working with you guys. We'll post a link to your newsletter, and we are hoping that we'll be able to speak to you soon on some additional initiatives and just get you back on here for some more fun chatting about Wildcats.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I want to say thank you to both of you and just to everybody at SpiritHoods, and really, you know, everyone listening right now, everyone in the SpiritHoods community. It's really great, enthusiastic support of what we do. It helps going. You know, it can be a depressing thing sometimes, but your optimism helps us keep going. And I think it's incredible that you guys are just recognizing the importance of saving wildcats in wild places, and that's what Panthera is, and we're just lucky to have, you know, your support and the support of your whole community. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, no, well, thank you. You're the one.
We can't do it alone.
Yes, I know, that's true. We can't do it alone. It takes a community. So we're behind you. SpiritHoods community is behind you 100%. Yeah. We love you guys.
Yeah, it takes a world.
It takes a world. Yes, it does. Thank you so much. No, it's been a pleasure having you. Yes. We will see you soon. I hope very soon.
Thanks, Renata.
Great.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right. Bye, everybody. Bye. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us.
Go to panthera.org.
Yes.
All right. Bye.